Coming up on today's episode of the More Than Sunday podcast.
As a parent, I think our natural inclination is to jump in and want to try to rescue and try to help and solve the problem.
Mama bear and Papa bear.
Right. And so balancing that too, because they need to develop the skills to, again, know how to problem solve and how to navigate tough relationships and go through their own emotional processes as well of dealing with different things. So we have to balance that as well. We have to go, okay, this is a situation, this is a thing where I definitely need to step up and help them solve the problem.
Welcome to the More Than Sunday podcast with lead pastor Scott Harris and your host Josh Rogers. Each episode, we aim to have honest conversations around daily living as a follower of Jesus outside of a church building. Thanks for joining us. Let's start the conversation.
Well, welcome to More Than Sunday. I'm your host, Josh Rogers, and with us again this week is our executive pastor, Nick Steinloski. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well today. Thanks for having me back, Josh.
Yeah, looking forward to, I said on the last episode, I don't know which episode we'll do part 2, so just stay, well, it was the next one. So we're going to talk again today about parenting and family dynamics and some more specific questions, some more zoomed in topics, I think. But I know not all of our listeners are sports heads, but I have to ask, did you watch the Mariner game yesterday?
I did. It was an unfortunate loss, but yeah, I watched.
It was an unfortunate loss.
Yeah.
For certain.
To
playing the Yankees.
Yeah. Yeah, but at least Cal got another home run.
And
Aaron Judge did too. But so we're there.
Potential MVP candidate.
On our team. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's breaking all sorts of records. So hopefully he has a great post All-Star run, and the Mariners do, of course, as well. And right now, if the season ended today, which it doesn't, so it's silly to talk about.
Right.
But if it did,
but also it's fun to talk about.
They would be in.
Yep.
So let's go.
Exciting stuff. Go M's.
I know.
So we went to the game last week during the Pirates series. Whenever you listen to this.
4th of July.
But 4th of July. And my son Judah went with us. And dude, it was like the most swag.
Oh my gosh.
We've walked away from a game with. We had the free hats coming in.
Yeah.
And then Judah caught one of the flying hot dogs.
Yeah.
And I don't know though. I mean, I don't think there's something that could excite an 11-year-old more at a baseball game than catching a flying hot dog.
A hot dog coming down in a parachute.
That's as big as he is.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he somehow reaches above everyone.
Yeah.
And grabs it.
Oh, it was awesome.
And then he proceeded to eat it.
Yep.
Yeah. Opened it up.
Cold when we got there, a little bit, a little chilly. And then I got sunburned.
Yeah. Same.
Yep. On top of, just right on my knees.
Yeah. So it was, and the game was great.
It was a great game.
Lots of home runs.
Yep.
4, I think. And it was really cool to be there with you and your son and just watching him enjoy it. And just, again, like you said, all the swag and just the experience of it was pretty cool. It was special. It was a good day.
It was a good day. Yeah. And just thinking from, I don't know, like a dad heart to that. It was really special because, we've been to a couple of things. That was his second Mariner game, but I've been trying the last couple of years to be better about like 100% present to the moment. And that's hard for me to do in general. I'm just as a person, like, thinking about what's coming or preparing for the next thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like he walked away like with some like core memories from that day. Remember the time that there was like 100,000 people there and I got hot and I caught a hot dog.
That was so fun. I mean, there's so many good little moments like that. The foul balls coming close by. We had like 3 or 4 that came within a close by range. And so just with the excitement about that he brought his glove and the potential of catching a ball. And then he caught a hot dog.
Yep. So, hey, if you're a Mariner fan, get down there.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Support the team. Catch a hot dog.
This is the year. I've been saying that since I was at the very first game. I think I told you in 1977. So
little known fact about Nick.
And I've been waiting patiently to get to the World Series. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna with much caution and optimism, say, this could be the year.
Could be. Got a good pitching team, good pitching rotation, good starting pitching. Let's just get to the playoffs first.
Oh my goodness. Well, we last week did a book time, and this week just preparing for today, I was thinking about just More Than Sunday. The theme of this show and what the heart of it really is, again, is we spend that hour and a half, 2 hours together as a church on Sunday, and then there's the rest of the week that you live out, you walk out normal day-to-day stuff. And you've been leading our staff this summer through reading of a book called The Liturgy of the Ordinary by Tish Harrison Warren.
Yep.
And just was processing this morning, I don't know if I could think of, I'll just say this. This would be on the top of the list for me of a book around the concept of living a more than Sunday lifestyle with Jesus. This gets into the ordinary, the mundane. How has this, been an impact to you? Or it's something that you feel highlighted from this book that you'd want to share?
Yeah, I read that book a number of years ago and was just like you were saying, kind of impacted by the story, the theme of everyday life, of my liturgy, what's my rhythm of my faith, and how it intersects with all of the normal activities of my day. So she's got chapters in there like brushing your teeth, arguing, fighting with your spouse.
Eating leftovers, checking emails, sitting in traffic.
Yeah, and so how all those ordinary day things that we all experience, and how does our faith kind of like, what's the word? Speak into those of our ordinary things, and how do those ordinary things also speak into our faith? And she just does a really good job of articulating and highlighting, again, that it's a 24-hour period basically that the book is going through, and she just highlights all those different places and rhythms that she's going through for the day, and again, how our faith is woven into that. So it's really good. I used it as a book for when I was teaching at Northwest. I used it as a book for students who were studying pastoral ministry, as a book that was actually obviously not an academic book at all, but just as a devotional book that I used actually as a professor for them to say, hey, we're going to do this devotional book together. And yes, it's an extra little bit of reading, but it's you'll enjoy it. And they did. And so I've just have, I don't know how many times I've read it, multiple times, kind of going through it. So when I came here, and I started thinking of what could we do as a staff for the summer, I went to that book again. So
I'm very much enjoying it, have enjoyed it, as I've read some of it in the past as well. When you say, and I know what she says about it, when you say liturgy, for those listening that may not that sounds like it, like how would you explain that?
I think we all have a liturgy, and another way to say it without having to use a religious term would be rhythm, right? We all have a rhythm of practice. That could be another way to look at it. We have practices, rhythms, liturgy to our lives. We have a liturgy here at Northshore with our worship. It's the order of service, right? It's that, and so some people might be put off or like, oh, what's this liturgy terminology talk? And it's not. Although she has a very more high church, is what the phrase I use, high church background, but the breaking it down to our everyday rhythms, our everyday processes of how we see things and how we do things, and then just tying that back into our theology of understanding who God is and who we are in Him, and so that's the liturgy. That's kind of that rhythm, that pace, and that's what that looks like for me.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things we talk about a lot, we have little windows for teaching on Sundays myself, in between songs and around there and stuff. But one of the things that, Brittany and the leaders and I will often talk about is that worship isn't just what we're doing right then.
That's right.
We're called to be living sacrifices who worship in spirit and in truth, and that's every moment. So another kind of way of thinking about this for me is intentionally living each moment as worship. As I think, especially as a 2025 believer, we can look to a devotional or a service or a sermon or a podcast as like that pinnacle moment of like, now I'm a follower, and then I gotta get ready for the day, and I gotta wash my car, and I gotta do those things. And sometimes those become just those other tasks we check until we get back to this more pinnacle kind of thing. And so she really takes us deep into the weeds of those kind of everyday things. Yeah.
And she also, I think she does a good job of also drawing our attention to how sometimes our faith becomes routine and there's no meaning to it, even on the spiritual things that we do practice. And so because the mundane of eating leftovers or started looking for your keys, those just become these things that we do that, again, aren't connected to our spiritual lives.
Sure.
But our spiritual lives stuff can also become so just like, oh, I go to church on Sunday. Oh, I'm going to do my devotional time. Oh, I'm going to pray for these people, or say I'm going to pray for them. And they become also
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. There's just there's no depth to it or intentionality with it. And so those things have a danger as well, as much as just kind of going through life doing our ordinary stuff.
For sure. I want to push into something that you said, you brought up leftovers. I know that you're not much of a leftovers guy.
I'm not.
Is there, and that's no judgment. Is there a particular type of leftover that you're like definitely no or definitely yes?
Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely a no on like a meat. Like rarely if there's leftover steak or something like that, I rarely would heat that up again and eat it. Chicken, fish. Anything like that, I'm just like texture-wise, once it's been zapped back in the microwave, or we have this thing called a new wave. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So
it sounds new.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had it for a long time now, but that's the brand, NUWAVE. And what it is, it's like an air fryer, but it's not the fryer. It's just the air. Yeah. And so you can put anything on there to reheat, and it does it. It's not nuking it like a microwave. It's just warming it. And you can actually cook things from raw in there. So we've put like burgers or chicken and stuff like that, and marinate it, and then set it on there. And you can.
You're so ahead of the times,
dude. This thing is. It just sits on the counter, and when we're done, we put it under. It's so cool. So meats, even on that, I'm just like, pizza. I mean, I'll warm up maybe a pizza, but I won't eat it cold. I won't eat cold pizza.
Tragedy.
Yeah, veggies and like, have you ever? I mean, like mashed potatoes warmed up again are just not good.
Yeah,
they're just not good.
I'm just gonna eat it.
See, yeah, I'm not that way. My wife is. My wife's like, hey, it's food. It's left over. We should eat it.
Yeah,
like,
there's definitely things I won't. Anything that's like wetter.
Yeah.
Day 2? No.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's like, it's just gelatin at that point.
Moist is the word I hate, right? I will eat leftover gumbo, though, because there's something about, like, how it sits and just kind of marinates in it.
Big gumbo guy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my go-tos.
I like that.
Well, my wife is Cajun.
Yeah.
Right, so Misty's Cajun. She was just in Louisiana last week and came home with her mom freeze dries stuff. Like, she's got her own business, freeze dry, like, candy, and she'll go to markets and sell us all this stuff.
Cool.
So she freeze dries the okra gumbo mix.
Whoa.
And puts it in these sealed packages. And so Misty brought home 4 of these, and each package probably can feed 10 to 12 people.
Whoa.
With gumbo. So we got 4 of those. So basically all you're doing is warming that up with the water and pouring that in, and then putting the meat in, the shrimp or chicken or sausage or whatever. So it's all there.
Dang.
Dude. And so we'll put that, and then we'll freeze it. We'll freeze the bags, put them in the freezer, and we'll.
And you said she has a business doing this?
Her mom does.
What's the business called?
I don't remember.
Shout out.
I can't remember.
Sponsor? We gonna get a sponsorship?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
More Than Sunday, sponsored by Gumbo?
Yeah. Ooh.
I like that.
Freeze-dried gumbo.
Yeah. I like that idea.
It's actually, she sells it at the markets, right?
Okay.
But, I mean, if she ever wanted to take it on the website, she could, because she's onto the World Wide Web.
Very cool.
It's pretty fun.
So we are going to talk about parenting, talk about kids. I I found a website. Now, disclaimer, I don't know this website.
Sure.
You know, it's VocaVision or VocaVision, but they did a study on Google searches and basically just compiled all the results to, this was August of 2024, the most popular parenting questions by state.
By state.
Searched on Google.
Wow.
This is pretty clearly like before adolescence.
Okay.
There's a lot of toddler questions in here.
Okay.
But, you know, I thought we could just read a couple of them and discuss a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of them are, so immediately I went to Washington.
Oh, sure.
And according to this study, the top question around parenting in the state of Washington in 2024 is, why do kids eat boogers? That's the only one in all of the other states that is that topic.
Really?
So we might have a problem.
That's a unique question to Washington State?
Yeah, we've got stuffy noses in Washington.
What's going on, kids?
It's the climate.
Parents, I guess maybe we need more salt in our diet.
Maybe. It is interesting to look through these though and see a common theme. There's like a nutrition and a health side. So there's a health side of like, when is a fever too high? How to get a toddler to take medicine. When should I worry about a rash on a child? What is ADHD in kids? So there's some behavioral stuff. Why do kids have so much energy? How to stop a toddler from biting. And then the next biggest thing would be, how much screen time is too much screen time for my kids? How old can a kid start using an iPad? How old should a kid be when they get a phone? I mean,
those are big questions.
Pretty clear topic in here.
Yeah.
Why is my kid so mean? Poor family. We're praying for you.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. There's a couple in here that are pretty insightful, I think. How does divorce affect children?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pretty interesting. How to be a good parent. I mean, am I a good parent? Pretty interesting questions. How, why won't my kid be quiet? Why is social media bad for kids? How to help a child lose weight without making them feel bad. When do kids stop taking naps? So there seems to be a couple categories.
Yeah.
There's a health category,
Yep.
like a nutritional,
Yep.
behavioral.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind as I was reading through these, and I this is just a thought, so help me process this out. It seems to me that we have kind of moved to, in some ways it seems, like specialist parenting, where it's almost as like, okay, this situation, my kid needs a counselor. This situation, my kid needs a naturopath. This situation, my kid needs this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I wonder if we've, just I think that's a noble thing. You want the best for your kid.
Yeah.
I also think, especially, obviously being a follower of Jesus, I think there's a unique authority we have as parents. And I think each family is uniquely given the children that they have for a reason.
Right.
So I wonder, are there maybe aspects that we need to elevate the ability to do hard things as parents? And that sounds, it's not really how I want to say it, but what I mean is an encouragement maybe to parents of like, you can do this. Like you have in a lot of instances what your child needs.
Right.
Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you that there's nothing wrong with going and finding those specialists. Like I remember one of my daughters struggling with simple running technique. Like she was always the slowest in her class, and we were playing a sport at that time, and you could just see her struggling with how to actually run right and correctly. And so we hired found someone who works with children and it wasn't physical therapy, but it was literally focused on athleticism and running. And that's all we asked her to do was focus on the running piece of it, help her to kind of, because when she would go downstairs, I'm talking about like when she was like 6, 7, 8 years old, she would go one step, one step, one step, one step.
Oh, okay.
She wouldn't go tum, 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 tum. So there was something, and less than a summertime with this therapist, I'll say, running coach. She figured it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's place for those things, right? So I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I also agree with you that as parents, there is you can do more than you think. You can speak into the life of the child more than maybe you ever thought you could. And so if you're a 2-parent household, then you've got double the resource there. If you're a single parent, look to the other helps, other people that are there, grandparents, aunts, uncles, that can help you. But together, as a husband, wife, or whatever, whoever else you pull in, you can do more than what you probably think you can. As far as how to answer the health, whether it's a health thing or a developmental thing, we don't have to instantly turn to other resources. Sure. I think we can navigate that because, like you said, each family is unique, and your kid really well. You see the challenges that they're having, and the narrative that's already been told, some of the history with what that kid's been processing and thinking about, and so you can speak into that better than anybody else could. And so I think about like the divorce thing and how that impacts a kid, their mental state and stuff. So find some support groups if you start to see that that's what your kid needs. But also just know that it's going to be really hard for a kid. There's a book called Children of Divorce by a guy named Andrew Root that I highly recommend if there's anyone who has a preteen to teenage that's going through divorce. It could be a really great resource for you as a parent to read it and then to use it to coach and walk through. So there are resources out there for sure for different scenarios, like a divorce situation or whatever, to walk through with your kids. But you can do it. You can do it as well. You can be present. That's the big part. Is just continue to show up.
Yeah. Kind of along that same line of being present, I'm just imagining faces that I know here in our church family and in our school family, our local community. I think it's safe to assume that every parent at some point, if not frequently, ask of themselves, am I doing a good job? Am I a good parent?
Right.
That's I saw that question pop up and I was like, I bet that resonates. And it resonates with me.
Sure.
What would you say to that? If someone came to you for some advice or some wisdom, how would you help someone gauge that, or what would you encourage?
Yeah, it's a big question because there's a lot of different variables there and levels to it as well, depending on the age of the children but I really think that I think we mentioned this last time, are you in a place spiritually, emotionally, physically that you're healthy? Because if you're taking care of your own self, then that's going to trickle down to your kids and to how they're growing and developing. And so the question, am I a good parent, is not so much necessarily like am I after a certain behavior for my kid, and that's going to affirm whether or not I'm a good parent or not. I think it starts again by me asking, okay, how am I doing in my own relationship with Jesus? Am I healthy, and am I growing, and am I doing the things that I need to take care of myself? Because my kids are going to catch that. They'll see that. My spouse will see that. And so start there. And then again, we've said this a number of times, just continue to show up. Continue to be present in the life of your kids. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right Bible study devotional time with your kids set up and that's going really well. Or your kids, what was some of those questions of like, how come a kid has so much control or energy?
Yeah.
And
why is my kid so loud?
Why is my kid so loud? I mean, they're their own person, right? And they're gonna be who they are, and that doesn't reflect back on you as whether or not you were a good parent. I mean, and then you fast forward to when they're older, and we've all heard stories or have friends who, mom and dad did everything right. They poured into their kid and yada yada, but then that kid still chooses to go a different direction with their life. So it would be easy to go, well, I guess I must have screwed up somewhere. I wasn't a good parent, but it has nothing to do with you. It was, again, because of maybe just kind of how that kid was wired. So I think, again, showing up, being present, loving their kids no matter what, having unconditional love towards them is a part of it as well. Being in community is a big part of that. Like, who else is speaking into the life of your kid?
Yeah.
Because again, once they get to a certain age, for sure, they're going to look towards more of those, not towards mom and dad. Friends and other people begin to start to be those voices. So have you set them up for success to know who those friends and who those voices are that are going to speak into them? So I think there are some practical things that we can do, but again, I circle back to like just how are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing in your life? Because that just, I think, says a lot.
Yeah. What comes to mind for me, as followers of Jesus who are also parents, some of the kind of self wellness checks that we do just as sons and daughters of God would then still apply to parenting as well. So, even just thinking like, am I seeing fruit of the Spirit growing in my day to day? Yeah. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but am I seeing moments of gentleness? Am I seeing moments of patience?
That's right.
Moments of peace. And I think I would add a disclaimer, like, what that doesn't mean is that we don't make mistakes. Sure. We don't fail. I think failing, failing and then modeling repentance is maybe one of the most important things we do.
Absolutely.
As parents, right?
Yeah.
So that's a helpful way. I love what you said, like, how your child is acting may not be a good indicator. Right. There could be some elements to that, sure, but maybe that's not the primary indicator on how you are doing as a parent.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that's a really easy place to be. Yeah. As a mom and a dad, I think so. They're making tough choices. I must be in the wrong.
Right. And that's not always the case.
Sure.
Something else that you were just kind of hinting on there too about not being the perfect parent and that we make mistakes. I think it's also really valuable to let your kids know, let them see you, hear you, apologize to them.
Ooh, yeah.
To go and be humble enough to say, I didn't respond well in that situation, you know, in XYZ when you did this or when I did that or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I just need to ask for your forgiveness. Yeah. To model that to our kids is huge in their development, I believe, as well. So yes, just them seeing us fail is part of that. We're not always hitting home runs as parents. So we are going to have those moments where we fail, where we mess up. But then that adding that idea, that layer of saying, and then going back and apologizing to them, because if my anger was directed towards them or they saw me even in my anger towards someone else, sure, or whatever, to be able to go to them and say, hey, Dad blew it, and that's not what I want to model to you, and I apologize. You forgive me. So I think that's big.
Yeah. This is a bit of a heavier topic to drill in on, but I think it's unfortunately one that we will to some degree all deal with. The question around divorce really alluded to it as well, is traumatic things. Parenting through those tough moments, those tough seasons, the out of your control stuff that is seen or heard or happens or whatever. And one of the things we want to do well in this podcast is to really talk about real things that are actually happening in the day to day. So yesterday, my family had one of these moments, and so I want to process that and use that as a jumping off point. Yesterday, my girls were with a group of friends here from the academy swimming at a local lake, and unfortunately, a little boy drowned while they were in the water, and they got him out on shore. My kids got out of the water. My wife and daughters were praying for the family and the boy, and then two of our friend group's moms were actually administering CPR.
Wow.
And praise the Lord, he began breathing again, and the latest report we've seen is that he regained consciousness. He's in critical condition but stable, and I can absolutely see the Lord's hand in, what if that friend group hadn't been there? What are the chances of other nurses having been on site at that time? So, love the way he orchestrates the details like that. But then for me personally, just living that out with my girls and my wife last night, they're processing, and one of them's 6 and one of them's 9, almost 10. And so they both process differently. And then they're watching my wife process and grieve, experiencing that. And one of the things I noticed just yesterday and this morning in processing with the girls is that they're not developed enough to process all at once. And I don't know that we are either. But as they kind of are going about what they were doing, even yesterday evening, all of a sudden kind of a seemingly out of the blue question about that incident would pop up again. So, we're making dinner and chatting about the grilled cheese, and, then Noah would ask, why was the mom screaming? And so I'm noticing, I'm trying to actively process and learn. It seems like my role right now is to remain attentive to what they're processing, not to give the fixing information, but to go there as they need to go there.
You're right.
So that's currently what I'm processing. I'm curious, what do you hear in that? What have you experienced? I know there's, even as a former professor, there's a lot of research you've seen into these things. So what would you speak towards that?
I mean, I think you really nailed it well when you said that there's the kind of watching them to have this, giving them the space to process it and to ask the questions when they are ready, when they need to. And that's kind of developmentally of them being a little more off and then on again, or sporadic, or whatever phrase you use, to see them. That's how they're going to process it. So that's normal. So as a parent, and I think this is part of our Western culture too, is to say, well, when we mourn, when we see tragedy or when we experience tragedy, there's a process that just needs to play out. And yes, but that looks so different for so many people, especially for kids. And so as your kids even continue to process what they saw yesterday, or again, a child who's gone through divorce or has lost a parent, or I remember I had a student who lost an uncle, and they were very close, and that unfortunately that sent her into an eating disorder that I know, because she talked to me, we've stayed friends, into her adult life, and she went did all the therapy. But so trauma can look and will impact a kid in a lot of different ways. So as a parent, we just have to be aware. We have to watch that and be aware of the process that a kid's going to go through to mourn, or to deal with the loss and the pain of it. And it could be something like in this woman's life now, she's well into her 30s and now maybe even close to 40, that she, was having to deal with this. Traced back to when she was I think 12. So just being aware, giving the space for the kids to process, knowing that everybody goes through grief differently. And again, in our Western culture, we think it has to be such a categorized way to mourn or to go through grief. Like, okay, first you're sad, then you're angry, and then but I don't think it works like that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Obviously, in the last episode you said, we're kind of just real time living living this out. But in the last episode you said, you have an 11-year-old. That's your first time having an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I have a 10 or a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old going through a hard thing. That's the first time I've done that with a 9 and a 6-year-old.
That's right.
And so one of the things I felt as I was praying on the way home, just prompting from the Lord was, I'm curious what you would say to this, was that I didn't need to set an emotional tone for them.
That's right.
So, I don't say that like, don't do this. This is what I'm living and processing.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking and came in and, hugged them and said, hey, I heard something really awful happen today. And then just sat and listened.
Right.
Because I didn't want to brush past it or belittle the magnitude of what that was.
That's right.
But I also didn't want to oh my goodness, are you
right?
So I don't know what do you say to that?
Well, I thought what you said earlier about how your wife is still, because she was there.
Yeah.
So she's going through it, the process of healing and mentally kind of going through it again, just like your kids are, and they're watching mom do that.
True.
So for you weren't there, so you can come in and be like, well, a little, just kind of maybe in the middle of the emotional part of it, a balance, and to kind of let them guide that and lead that. Then what they're seeing from mom, what they're feeling, so we don't have to add to we don't have to escalate it or. And some of that's just, again, it was what's your own personality. And I think but it's really important as a parent to realize that, okay, I need to hold my normal reaction would be to maybe overreact to this and just like, whatever. I'm not even referring to the thing yesterday now, but if that's your natural tendency, to have some wisdom and some balance and some, just to hold back a bit if you need to, like you said, to go into and where are they, how are they processing, where are their emotions at it, and kind of meet them where they're at with that. Because if we go in, I mean, this could be with so many different things of parenting. So if we go in upset, if we come in complaining, if we come in over joyful, and just over the top, again, not that we have to hide our emotions from our kids, but it's just sometimes, again, having that discernment of helping them to be able to regulate their emotions and to know how to deal with them. Again, not that they can't overexpress them as well.
Right.
So there's a balance there. I'm trying to articulate it right, but because I don't want people to say, oh yeah, you've got to hide how you really feel.
Sure.
Because that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But there's certain things that a 6-year-old is going to hear and process.
Well, you said something that resonated with me of what I was attempting to do was meet them where they were at with it, not create a new place for them to be with it.
That's huge, I think.
I was, I try to be just a learner in life, and I was a teenager that went through divorce in my family, and brother was 12 and sister was younger, and so there were things I took away from that I kind of gut reaction put into now how I parent. So I just noticed it yesterday. I mean, you were in the room when I found out, and we paused and just prayed.
Yep.
And the immediate prayer that came to mind was a prayer that a friend came and prayed over me in the middle of this all kind of happening. And it was interesting just to process that. And it was this idea of like healing their memories and guarding them. Not that they don't remember these things, but that there's not like trauma attachments to the memory that then fuel decision-making based in fear.
Right.
And that was massive for me. So part of what I'm processing out is I think there's things we learn and pick up along the way. Now, not always healthy.
Sure.
But the healthy things, back to even that point we were talking about before, is maybe we're a little more equipped than we think we are.
Yep.
To navigate some hard issues. I even think of one of the questions from the top ones is, why do kids bully other kids? And, we've walked through just a touch of that. And certainly not what others I know have walked through, but even that bit of processing with your kid through that is interesting, because at least for me, I'm trying to gauge, like, what are you experiencing in this? Like, I don't want to assume and project something on you that I think you should be experiencing based on bullying.
Right.
But what are you actually experiencing in this? Like, what are you taking away, and trying to meet them again in that space where they are in it? So maybe I'm an external processor. So maybe a nugget I'm taking away from this conversation is to continue to try to meet them where they are.
Right. And to not solve all of their problems as well. I think that there's a tendency by a parent to hear that their kid's being bullied or whatever and to jump right into rescue.
Dude, absolutely.
And to try to solve their pain of having to go through trauma or again, being bullied at school, or name it. As a parent, I think our natural inclination is to jump in and want to try to rescue and try to help and solve the problem.
Mama bear and Papa bear.
Right. And so balancing that too, because they need to develop the skills to, again, know how to problem solve and how to navigate tough relationships and go through their own emotional processes as well of dealing with different things. So we have to balance that as well. We have to go, okay, this is a situation, this is a thing where I definitely need to step up and help them solve the problem or find the answer. Whereas some other times it's like, no, just have to ask guiding some good questions, like tell me, how are you feeling about that? What did you think of how that happened? Well, how did that make you feel? And all those feeling and thinking type questions to help them get to a place where they're able to come up with an answer and a conclusion. And so, I mean, I've used that technique a lot of times in just leadership too. When I was still a youth pastor, but a veteran youth pastor. I was a youth pastor for a long time, and I'd meet with a younger youth pastor, and I know that they were wanting to come and pick my brain. Yeah. But I would pick theirs, and I wouldn't let them just come and start asking me questions. I'd flip it and just start asking them questions, because what I found was that giving them the opportunity to talk and share about what their ministry was like and what they were doing, they're actually processing what they're doing and why they're doing what they would do. Yeah. And I think they went away with more nuggets and more positive processes than I could have maybe given them by just answering their questions, but by getting them to think it through and ask why they're doing what they're doing and yada.
That's awesome.
And so parenting, same. I think the same way. It's just like learn to ask the right questions and good questions, because that'll lead them to be able to process and think well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think sort of a closing thought for me, last episode we talked about maybe a healthy or the right next step towards good parenting is you drawing near to Jesus. Yeah. And so it's interesting, we talk about like today we didn't highlight a bunch of scripture, and we didn't, but in part that's because they're not these are connected. Yeah. It's not like, how do we apply Christian thinking to parenting? It's that I am a Christian designed to parent. Right. And so part of that is, we have the gift of the Holy Spirit, who is a wonderful teacher. And, I would say just an encouragement, something that I practice, something I want to continue to practice, and maybe an encouragement personally from my experience is something I've heard you do that you do really well, is coming up with example questions. And I think sometimes that can feel paralyzing, right? For a parent of like, I don't know what to ask. I would say a great starting point is always, Father, what are you saying? What do you want? What are you saying over this kid? Or what question are you asking? What do you see?
That's right. That's good.
It can be, I think that's such a simple prayer that can be overlooked. Yeah. That has been so critical for me and my family, and I'm assuming yours as well, of meeting kids where they're at, because sometimes you don't know. Yeah. But there is somebody who does.
That's right.
And he dwells inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's such a it's a simple, amazing, wonderful truth that I don't always apply everywhere in my life,
Right.
more than Sunday. It's
Right.
not just when I'm in church and, have a tie on and have my Bible open.
Right.
It's when I'm distraught in the middle of a traumatic situation and I'm not sure what to say.
Right.
It's still Jesus.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
still eyes on Jesus.
Yep.
What are you doing? What are you saying? What do you see about my kid right now? What are you thinking?
That's right.
So that would maybe be an encouragement from me. I don't know. Would you?
I would just add on to that the idea that he cares so much more than you do, even about your kids. And so he's got his eye on them. He got his hand on them, and that he cares and loves and knows them better than we can ever. So as much as you feel that towards your kid, know that our Heavenly Father has that much more even for them. And so that's reassuring to say at times when you just don't know what to say or what to do or how things are going, to go, oh no, he does.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes hard because especially as they get older, like parenting adults now, you're like wanting to come in and be like, oh, I thought we taught them how to do that. And they're not acting like we taught them how to do that. Okay, God, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to show up and help them through that.
Yeah.
And trusting that he does. And
Absolutely.
He will.
And he's good. He's faithful. He's consistent.
Absolutely.
He has detailed plans, and we just get the joy of partnering in with those.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for being on with us again,
dude.
man. Looking forward to more conversations in the future and continuing to get to know you, but even just in this conversation has been encouraging for me and
Cool.
helpful to see those things. So hope that's true for those listening as well. Man, we collectively as a people, we want to continue to walk like Jesus in every aspect, and parenting is one of those. And this was a bit of a heavier topic in some areas, but it's real life, and that's the stuff we're going to walk through. And so I think it's important to have conversation and discussion around those things. As always, thank you for listening. If you've got any follow-up questions or any topics you want to discuss further, you can email us at morethansunday@northshorechristian.org, and we would love to see those, hear those, be able to speak to those. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.